The stars shimmered like diamonds scattered across black velvet as the human delegation's sleek ship glided into the orbit of the Galactic Council's citadel. Towering above a distant blue-green planet, the Council station floated in silence, a massive structure of silver and crystal that seemed almost alive. Lights pulsed along its spires, casting rainbow reflections into the void. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, the first official entry into the Interstellar Council, where beings from hundreds of star systems met to discuss peace, trade, and the future of the galaxy. Commander Elara Shaw stood at the WER, front of the delegation's observation deck, her hands clasped behind her back. Her sharp eyes scanned the station as she tried to hide a mixture of awe and nervousness. Around her, the other human delegates busied themselves with final checks on their data tablets, communication systems, and diplomatic documents. None of them spoke, but the air was thick with anticipation. "This is it," whispered Dr. Isaac Marlowe, the team's lead scientist. "All those years of research, negotiations, and preparation, it comes down to this one moment." Elara nodded, feeling a weight settle on her shoulders. "Remember, Isaac, we are here not just to speak, but to be seen. Humanity must show that we are worthy of respect, not just curiosity." The human ship docked smoothly, magnetic clamps gripping the Citadel's docking bay. Inside, the Council station was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Hallways curved and twisted in ways that seemed to defy geometry, and the walls glimmered with colors that changed depending on the viewer's perspective. Holographic panels floated mid-air, displaying languages humans could barely comprehend, symbols twisting and transforming as if alive. From the shadows of the docking hall emerged the first Council representatives. A tall crystalline being radiated faint pulses of light, its voice echoing in multiple tones at once. Beside it, a hulking creature with 6 arms and a shell of interlocking plates stared silently at the humans. Other species followed, some with translucent skin that shimmered with internal light, others with delicate feather-like tendrils waving in greeting. Elara stepped forward, extending her hand in the universal gesture of greeting. "I am Commander Elara Shaw, representing humanity," she said clearly. "We come in peace and with hope for cooperation." The crystalline being paused, its light dimming slightly. It tilted in a way that might have been a bow. "Humanity, your arrival was expected. The Council awaits your words." Its voice was melodic, yet it carried an edge of judgment. Elara noticed the subtle exchange of glances among the other Council members, tiny gestures of amusement or suspicion. The humans' arrival, it seemed, had sparked interest, but also unease. They were escorted to a massive chamber at the heart of the citadel. It was circular, with a high vaulted ceiling that shimmered like the night sky. At the center floated a translucent orb, glowing softly with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Around it, representatives of dozens of species sat in a ring, their forms as diverse as the stars themselves. Some communicated in sound, some in light, some through direct mental pulses that humans could barely register. Elara and her team took their seats at a designated area for new entrants. A holographic display appeared before them, translating Council languages into English. Every word felt heavy, every gesture weighted with centuries of tradition. "The Council welcomes humanity," intoned a voice that echoed from the orb itself. "Your species has been noted for resilience, innovation, and unpredictability. Let your intentions be clear, for we have observed and judged before your arrival." Elara swallowed hard but held her head high. "We come seeking partnership, mutual understanding, and shared knowledge. Humanity offers technological insight, cultural exchange, and dedication to the pursuit of harmony across the galaxy." A ripple of murmurs passed through the Council. Some members nodded while others leaned back, frowning. Elara could feel their scrutiny like invisible eyes pressing on her chest. She knew humans had a reputation: brave, stubborn, sometimes reckless. But she hoped that their words would be enough to counter the whispers and judgments that had preceded them. Dr. Marlowe tapped his tablet nervously. "They seem skeptical." Maybe they expected us to be primitive or unworthy. This is going to be harder than I thought. Ilara placed a hand on his shoulder. We expected that. We're humans. We always find a way to turn skepticism into respect. The first round of discussions began. Humans presented ideas for joint scientific research, sustainable energy sharing, and interstellar cultural programs. They spoke of clean energy projects, medical research initiatives, and artistic collaborations that could connect different civilizations. Yet for every suggestion, a council member raised questions that twisted their meaning or framed them as potential threats. When Ilara suggested a joint experiment on renewable energy, a tall insectoid delegate leaned forward. And what safeguards exist, human, to prevent this energy from becoming a weapon? Ilara remained calm. The systems are designed for efficiency and safety. No destructive capability exists. Our only intention is the benefit of all participants. The insectoid clicked its mandibles, apparently unconvinced. Another delegate, a being of liquid light, flickered around the chamber, murmuring signals in pulses that translated to, "Humans are clever, but are they trustworthy?" Hours passed. The humans grew weary, not from physical exertion, but from the constant subtle pressure. Every word, every gesture seemed to be weighed against a preconceived judgment. Ilara noticed the quiet frustration of her colleagues. Some whispered to each other, questioning why humanity had agreed to enter these talks when their intentions were clearly doubted. During a brief recess, Ilara walked to a viewing balcony. Below, the swirling clouds of a nearby gas giant reflected the station's lights like a pool of molten metal. She breathed deeply, trying to calm her mind. Humans had always faced challenges, both on Earth and beyond. They had survived plagues, wars, and countless disasters. Surely they could survive skepticism too. A soft voice startled her. "Commander Shaw?" It was Ambassador Lyra, a friendly member of the council whose form resembled a tall, ethereal tree with branches that quivered in greeting. "Do not let their doubt discourage you. Humans have something few species possess: determination. And it shows." Ilara smiled faintly. "Thank you, Ambassador. But it feels like every gesture we make is being tested, twisted, or ignored." Lyra nodded. "That is the nature of interstellar diplomacy. You will learn quickly who to trust and who is more concerned with status than truth. Observe carefully. Record everything. Do not respond with anger." Ilara returned to the chamber with renewed resolve. She understood now that survival in this council was not about force, but perception. Humanity's reputation had preceded them, and much of it was based on fear and misunderstanding. They would need patience, wit, and unwavering honesty to navigate this maze of politics. The human delegation spent the next sessions carefully presenting their projects, answering questions, and clarifying misunderstandings. Despite the subtle hostility, they maintained grace and composure. Other species began to notice their persistence, their clarity, and their refusal to be provoked. Some even nodded in quiet admiration. By the end of the first day, Ilara felt a small but significant shift. Though the council had not fully embraced humanity, the humans had carved a place for themselves, not as subjects to be judged, but as a species to be taken seriously. They had arrived with hope, faced doubt, and survived the first trial. As they prepared to rest, Ilara looked out of the chamber's windows. The stars stretched infinitely, vast and mysterious. Humanity was small, fragile, yet determined. They had entered the galaxy's grand stage, and no amount of skepticism could erase their presence. Tomorrow, they would continue. Tomorrow, they would prove that humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, thinkers, and, perhaps, the galaxy's unexpected champions of unity. The next day dawned with soft light filtering through the citadel's translucent walls, painting the chamber in hues of violet and gold. The human delegation gathered once more, determined to continue their mission of peace and collaboration. Commander Ilara Shaw scanned the room, her mind alert. Yesterday had been challenging, But the humans had survived, and more importantly, they had been noticed. Today, we must be even clearer, Ilara told her team. No room for misinterpretation. Speak with precision, show goodwill, and trust. In our integrity, Dr. Isaac Marlowe, adjusting his data tablet, nodded. Agreed, but some of them are subtle. I can feel the eyes, the mental probes, even the pulses. They don't fully understand us, and some may never try. Ilara's gaze fell on the other human delegates. They were younger, eager, and idealistic, brimming with energy that sometimes clashed with the council's measured pace. She felt protective of them. Then we must guide them, she said. Humanity's best features are patience and creativity. Let's show that, not just talk about it. The day's agenda began with a demonstration of human technology. The humans had brought an energy conversion device, capable of transforming raw cosmic radiation into clean, usable energy. It was a small but significant invention, proof of human ingenuity and problem-solving. Ilara activated the device in the center of the chamber. A soft hum filled the room as radiant beams of light collected in a spherical grid above it. The council members leaned forward, curious. For a moment, the chamber seemed to glow with the promise of cooperation. Then, a voice rang out, sharp and cold. Humanity, are you suggesting that this device could be weaponized? The insectoid delegate from yesterday's session stepped forward, its mandibles clicking rhythmically. Your technology, while impressive, is concerning. It could be adapted for offensive purposes. Ilara's hands rose slightly in a gesture of calm. No, this device is purely for energy generation. There is no mechanism for weaponization. Our intention is to share knowledge, not to create harm. A ripple of whispers passed through the chamber. The liquid light delegate flickered anxiously, its form quivering. We have observed human behavior in the past. You are known for boldness, even recklessness. How can we be certain that no harm will come? Ilara felt her patience tested. We cannot control perceptions of the past. We can only present truth. This technology is safe, sustainable, and intended for mutual benefit. Despite her words, the council members began asking pointed questions, probing for weaknesses or hidden motives. The humans answered carefully, showing data, schematics, and testing protocols. Yet every answer seemed to trigger more suspicion. Then disaster struck, not by human error but by misinterpretation. A small calibration pulse emitted from the device, brighter and faster than intended. It illuminated the chamber like a sudden flare. The crystalline delegate gasped audibly. Humanity, you have activated a weapon. Ilara froze. No, this is not a weapon. It is a demonstration of energy output. The insectoid clicked angrily. We demand a halt to this demonstration. You cannot be trusted. For the first time, a ripple of fear ran through the human delegation. Dr. Marlowe's voice shook slightly. It's not a weapon. We calculated the output precisely. This is safe. But the council had already reacted. Other members began murmuring among themselves, their words sharp and questioning. Some demanded immediate containment protocols. Others spoke of halting human participation until their intentions could be verified. Ilara's mind raced. She realized that this was not just a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate misrepresentation. Someone within the council wanted humanity to appear dangerous. Her stomach tightened with the weight of realization. If humans were to survive in this environment, they would need strategy, not just explanations. She stepped forward, raising both hands in a universal gesture of peace. Council members, we understand your caution, but I assure you this is not aggression. This is energy, science, and cooperation. We have records, data, and calculations to prove it. The crystalline delegate's light dimmed, flickering with uncertainty. Your words are noted, human. Yet the impression of danger remains. Ilara took a deep breath. Then let the facts speak. Allow us to present a full report, live data, and demonstrations under your supervision. Let truth dispel fear. A tense silence followed. Some delegates nodded slowly, intrigued despite themselves. Others remained skeptical, their expressions unreadable. Ilara sensed that the council's hierarchy and politics were working against her. Misunderstandings were not accidental. They were tools of influence, used to shape opinions and protect positions of power. During the recess, Ilara convened her team in a quiet corner. "This was a test," she said firmly. "They are trying to see how we react under pressure. Some want to see us falter. Others want to prove we are dangerous. But we did not falter. We must be ready for the next challenge." Dr. Marlowe frowned. "It's more than a test. Someone deliberately misrepresented our device. That's political sabotage." Ilara nodded. "Perhaps, but we cannot accuse without proof. For now, we record, observe, and respond with clarity. Anger will only play into their hands." Over the next hours, the humans presented additional demonstrations, each carefully designed to avoid misunderstanding. They shared holographic simulations of sustainable cities, new medical treatments, and cultural artifacts from Earth. Slowly, some council members began to appreciate the humans' creativity and precision. Others remained doubtful, whispering about human boldness and unpredictability. It was during one of these sessions that Ilara noticed the young delegates' frustration beginning to show. They muttered, rolled their eyes, and occasionally exchanged sarcastic comments in hushed tones. The humans' patience was being tested not just by misunderstanding, but by repeated subtle slights. Ilara pulled them aside. "Do not let small provocations cloud your judgment. Remember why we are here. Humanity's strength is not in reacting to insult, but in rising above it. We demonstrate not only what we can do, but who we are." By the end of the day, the humans had survived, but the tension was palpable. The council members had watched them closely, noting both their ingenuity and their calm under pressure. Somewhere among them, seeds of doubt had been planted, doubt about whether humans were dangerous, or perhaps too clever to be underestimated. Back in the delegation's quarters, Ilara reviewed the day's recordings. Every misinterpretation, every pointed question, every subtle slight was logged carefully. She realized that these records might be crucial in the future, not as tools of accusation, but as evidence that humanity had acted with integrity, even under suspicion. Dr. Marlowe leaned over the data pad. "Ilara, they really didn't trust us today. Some of them might never trust us. Do you think it's worth continuing?" Ilara's eyes shone with quiet determination. "Yes. Not because they trust us now, but because we are human. We do not seek approval by fear. We seek respect by our actions. Today was difficult, but tomorrow is another chance to show that humanity's intentions are pure." As they prepared to rest, Ilara took one last walk along the observation balcony. The stars stretched endlessly, calm and unjudging, unlike the council chambers. She realized that the galaxy was full of challenges. Not all of them hostile, but all requiring patience, wisdom, and courage. Humanity had survived its first trial of misunderstanding. They had proven their resilience, ingenuity, and ability to remain composed under pressure. Yet the memory of the misrepresented device lingered. Somewhere within the council, suspicion had taken root. And Ilara knew that the human's journey was only beginning. "Tomorrow," she whispered to the stars, "we continue. We will show them who we are, not just with words but with truth. And we will not falter." And in the quiet corridors of the council, unknown eyes flickered with both curiosity and unease. Humanity had made a mark, subtle but undeniable. The galaxy had glimpsed their potential. And some of the council members, perhaps for the first time, wondered if they had underestimated humanity. The council chambers felt colder than usual that morning, even though the vast hall shimmered with soft, pulsating light. Commander Ilara Shaw and the human delegation had arrived early, each member carrying the weight of yesterday's misunderstandings. The misrepresented energy device had created ripples through the council. Some members whispered doubts while others avoided the humans entirely. Ilara paced quietly before their seating area. She could feel the tension in the air, the invisible pressure of alien eyes watching every gesture. She had learned one important truth: perception mattered as much as reality. Humanity could be brilliant, patient, and truthful, but if their intentions were misread, all of that mattered little. "Commander," Dr. Isaac Marlowe said softly, adjusting his tablet. "They're watching us like predators circling prey. I thought diplomacy would be hard, but this is different. They're testing not just our ideas, but our patience, our resolve." Ilara nodded. "Yes, Isaac, and tests can be traps if we are not careful. We must stay calm, but we must also ask ourselves, is this council truly ready to accept humanity as equals, or are we wasting our energy?" The delegation gathered in a small conference room within the Citadel. The room was transparent, giving a clear view of the swirling stars outside, a reminder of both the beauty and the vastness of space. Ilara looked at her team. Some were nervous, others frustrated, all determined. "We have two choices," she began. "Continue to negotiate under these conditions, where every word and action is doubted, or retreat with dignity and preserve humanity's honor. We are not weak, but we cannot let misinterpretation become our fate." A young delegate, Lieutenant Marin Voss, spoke first. "Retreat, but we came here to cooperate. If we leave, won't that make them think we are aggressive or that we fear them?" Ilara shook her head. "No, Marin. Retreat is not surrender. It is a strategic choice. It shows that humanity will not be manipulated, misrepresented, or forced into compromise. We leave on our terms, and we do so with evidence of our integrity." Dr. Marlowe tapped the tablet. "We have all the documentation, the misrepresented demonstration, the questions that twisted our words, even the subtle slights. We can present these to the council later if needed. But we must act now, before the situation worsens." The room was quiet for a moment. Each delegate weighed the consequences. Retreat was unusual for humans. They were known for persistence, even against overwhelming odds. But Ilara reminded them that persistence without purpose could lead to failure. Finally, Lieutenant Voss nodded, slowly. "If we retreat with dignity, and with proof of our integrity, we preserve humanity's reputation." "I understand, Commander. Let's do it." Ilara allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Then we begin preparations. We will leave. But not quietly. Our message will be clear. Humanity will not be misrepresented, and we will return on our own terms." The humans moved swiftly. Diplomatic communiques were drafted, clearly stating the reasons for their departure. Every word was precise, carefully crafted to maintain respect while asserting human dignity. They requested meetings with key council members, explaining that their decision was not out of anger or fear, but from a commitment to truth and honor. The council's reaction was immediate. Whispers filled the halls. Some delegates were visibly uncomfortable. The insectoid delegate from earlier clicked its mandibles angrily, muttering in its native language. The crystalline being's light flickered uncertainly. The humans had done something unexpected. They had taken control of the narrative. During the final council session, Ilara stood before the chamber. Her posture was firm, her voice steady. "Honored members of the council, humanity has attempted in good faith to participate in dialogue and cooperation, yet our actions have been misrepresented, our intentions doubted, and our words twisted. For these reasons, we must withdraw from the current negotiations." A murmur of surprise passed through the chamber. Some members whispered among themselves. The liquid light delegate flickered rapidly, its form quivering. Even the insectoid paused mid-click, its expression unreadable. Ilara continued, "We leave not as adversaries, but as equals seeking fairness. We maintain the hope that one day, true understanding can be achieved. Until then, humanity will return to its own systems, with dignity intact and records preserved for future clarity." For a moment, the chamber was silent. Then Ambassador Lyra, the ethereal tree-like delegate who had shown kindness, stepped forward. "Commander Shaw, your words are firm and measured. You speak with honesty, and I recognize the courage it takes. to withdraw rather than be compromised. Humanity's decision is understood. Ilara bowed slightly. Thank you, Ambassador. We hope that others may learn the value of integrity and patience from this example. The humans began preparations for departure. Supplies were packed, systems checked, and records duplicated. Even as they worked, Ilara remained vigilant, knowing that some council members might try to manipulate their exit, delay their departure, or twist their message further. The day of departure arrived. The human ship glided through the docking bay, engines humming softly. Council members gathered to observe, some curious, others skeptical. Ilara stood at the helm, her hand steady on the console. She glanced at her team. Each member looked determined, proud, and calm. Humanity's retreat was not defeat. It was a statement. As the ship moved into orbit, Ilara sent a final message to the Council. Humanity departs, not in anger, but in clarity. Let this record serve as proof that we acted with integrity, patience, and honesty. We will return when mutual understanding is possible. Until then, the stars are wide, and humanity will continue its journey. The message echoed through the Council's communication network, reaching even the most skeptical members. Some were surprised, others frustrated, but all recognized the unexpected strength of the humans' actions. Once clear of the Council's immediate orbit, the human delegation gathered on the observation deck. Below them, the Citadel floated silently against the backdrop of distant stars. For the first time, Ilara allowed herself a moment of reflection. We did the right thing, she said quietly. We did not allow fear or misrepresentation to dictate our actions. We leave with honor, and that is more important than approval. Dr. Marlowe nodded. I never thought I would see the day when humans would retreat and still feel victorious, but you're right. This is a triumph of dignity. Lieutenant Voss smiled faintly. Do you think they will realize their mistake? Ilara's eyes focused on the distant stars. Perhaps, but it does not matter if they do now. Humanity has set an example. We have proven that we will not compromise our principles. Some will learn immediately, others will take time. But our record is clear, and our integrity is intact. The journey home was quiet, filled with reflection. Each member of the delegation thought about the challenges they had faced, not just technical or diplomatic, but moral. They had encountered doubt, misrepresentation, and subtle hostility. Yet they had responded with patience, intelligence, and resolve. As Earth grew closer on the observation deck's screens, Ilara felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had survived its first true test in the galaxy. They had faced misunderstanding, bias, and political maneuvering, and they had emerged not weakened but stronger. This is just the beginning, Ilara said softly. The galaxy may doubt us now, but one day, they will see that humans do not give in to misrepresentation. They will see that we act with honor, creativity, and courage. The human ship entered Earth's orbit. The familiar blue and green of their home planet brought a sense of relief, yet also determination. Humanity's retreat from the Council was not an ending. It was a pause, a moment to regroup and prepare for a future where understanding and respect would finally be recognized. Ilara looked at her team one last time before the ship docked. We have proven that humanity's strength is not just in technology or strategy. Our true power lies in integrity, patience, and clarity of purpose. Remember this lesson and carry it forward in every interaction on Earth and beyond. As the delegation prepared to disembark, the stars outside seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging humanity's resilience. They had retreated from the Council, yes, but they had done so on their own terms with pride intact and a clear vision of the future. Back at the Galactic Council, the chambers felt unusually quiet. The absence of the human delegation left a gap that was more noticeable than anyone had expected. The usual hum of debate and chatter seemed muted. Delegates moved with purpose, but behind their composed exteriors, there was a growing unease. The departure of humanity had stirred more than curiosity. It had caused doubt. Some members whispered in corners, questioning past judgments. The insectoid delegate, usually loud, and commanding, moved more cautiously, its mandibles clicking nervously. The crystalline being, whose judgment had been so rigid, pulsed softly, almost contemplative. Even the liquid light delegate flickered in unusual patterns, signaling confusion and unease. The council convened an emergency session to review humanity's exit. Holoscreens flickered to life, displaying every recorded session, every human demonstration, and every interaction. The images, translations, and data had been meticulously preserved by the human delegation. No detail was omitted. Every misunderstanding, every twisted question, every subtle slight was now visible to the council in full context. A murmur ran through the chamber as the first recordings played. The misrepresented energy device demonstration, which had caused the initial accusations of potential weaponization, appeared exactly as it had happened. Safe, controlled, and clearly non-threatening. The council members leaned in, examining every frame. The crystalline being spoke first, its voice softer than usual. It appears we misjudged the humans. Their device, while impressive, posed no threat. Our initial conclusions were based on assumptions, not evidence. The insectoid delegate clicked its mandibles slowly, a sign of deep contemplation. Our response may have been premature. The humans demonstrated restraint, transparency, and clarity. Yet we treated them as if they were dangerous. That was unwise. Other delegates nodded, some reluctantly, some thoughtfully. The council began to review the transcripts of human statements, observing how calmly and clearly they had responded to questions, even under pressure. Their patience, logic, and unwavering integrity were unmistakable. A counselor who had previously been dismissive spoke up, her form resembling a multi-winged bird. We may have allowed prejudice and hierarchy to cloud our judgment. Humanity acted with dignity even when we misrepresented them. Ambassador Lyra, the tree-like ethereal delegate who had been friendly to humans, stepped forward. It is rare for a species to endure suspicion, misunderstanding, and subtle hostility without losing composure. The humans have done so, and, in doing so, they have proven wisdom beyond their years. Perhaps we underestimated them entirely. As discussions continued, the council examined the humans' documented evidence of interactions. Every misinterpreted gesture, every subtly hostile question, and every council maneuver that had skewed perception was laid bare. Members who had been skeptical or dismissive now faced undeniable proof that humanity had acted with honesty, restraint, and intelligence. The insectoid delegate clicked again, more emphatically. It seems we have erred. Humanity's intentions were never hostile. Our council's procedures, assumptions, and internal politics led us to misinterpret their actions. We have allowed bias to override reason. Some members were reluctant to admit fault. Pride and politics had always been a part of council life, and admitting error was never simple. Yet the evidence was overwhelming. The humans had not only acted correctly, they had documented every moment, ensuring that the truth was undeniable. The council convened in smaller groups to discuss next steps. Some suggested issuing a formal apology, acknowledging the misjudgments. Others proposed sending envoys to invite humans back, not as supplicants but as equals. There was debate, of course. Some feared that inviting humanity back would disrupt the existing balance of power. The crystalline being pulsed thoughtfully. We underestimated humans. Their departure demonstrates strength, clarity, and foresight. Perhaps we should study this behavior. Humanity may possess qualities we have rarely seen in other species. Ambassador Lyra agreed. Indeed, they have endured pressure without aggression, maintained composure, and acted with integrity. If we fail to recognize this, we risk losing an opportunity for genuine cooperation. They are not merely participants, they are potential leaders in interstellar collaboration. As the council deliberated, reports came in from other species observing the humans' departure. Many were impressed by the dignity and restraint with which humans had left. Across multiple star systems, whispers circulated. Humans do not fight for approval. They act for principle. Some delegates began to reflect on their past judgments. The insectoid, once aggressive and suspicious, admitted quietly, "We judged without evidence. The human's clarity and courage exceed what we expected. Our error is ours to acknowledge." The council finally reached a consensus. A formal statement would be prepared, acknowledging humanity's integrity and courage. Furthermore, the council would extend an invitation for humans to return, on terms that respected their autonomy and dignity. A high-ranking counselor addressed the chamber. "Let it be known, humanity acted with honor. Misjudgment and bias on our part led to misunderstandings. We recognize our error and extend an invitation for renewed dialogue, one based on transparency, mutual respect, and equality." Within hours, the statement was sent through the galaxy. The humans received it with cautious optimism. They had not sought recognition or validation, they had acted according to principle, but it was gratifying to see that their integrity was finally acknowledged. Commander Alara Shaw reviewed the message with her team. "They understand now," she said. "It took time, but our patience and clarity have proven themselves. Humanity did not need to fight or argue to be seen correctly. We simply acted with integrity." Dr. Marlowe nodded. "It's remarkable. We left on our terms and now they recognize the truth. This is a victory not of conflict but of wisdom." Lieutenant Voss smiled. "I suppose this proves that humans are persistent in more ways than one. We don't just survive. We shape how the galaxy sees us." Ilara's gaze drifted toward the distant stars visible from their ship. "Exactly. And now we have a choice. When we return, we will do so not just as participants, but as equals. The galaxy has learned something important. Humanity cannot be underestimated, misrepresented, or dismissed." Over the following weeks, the Council implemented changes. Delegates reviewed internal procedures to prevent bias from skewing judgment in the future. Training sessions were organized to help members better understand alien and human communication styles. Transparency became a more emphasized principle in Council deliberations. Meanwhile, humanity prepared for a return visit. Unlike their first entry, this time they could dictate the terms. They planned presentations that highlighted collaboration, technological exchange, and cultural understanding, designed to foster mutual respect rather than suspicion. Alara reflected on the journey so far. Humans had faced skepticism, misrepresentation, and subtle hostility. Yet they had responded with patience, intelligence, and integrity. That response had forced even one of the galaxy's most powerful councils to reconsider its assumptions and admit its mistakes. "This is more than just diplomacy," Alara said quietly to her team. "This is a lesson in character. The galaxy has seen who we are, and they will not forget it." Dr. Marlowe looked at her, admiration in his eyes. "It's incredible, Commander. We didn't fight. We didn't argue endlessly. We simply acted with truth, patience, and clarity. And it worked." Lieutenant Voss laughed softly. "I never thought leaving would feel like winning. But it does." Alara smiled, a quiet, confident smile. "Yes, it does. And next time we enter the Council, we will do so with strength, dignity, and the knowledge that the galaxy respects us, not because we demanded it, but because we earned it." The stars stretched endlessly beyond the ship's observation deck, a reminder of the vastness and complexity of the galaxy. Humanity had not only survived its first test, it had reshaped perception itself. The Council's acknowledgement was more than a victory. It was proof that patience, integrity, and wisdom were as powerful as any weapon or technology. And somewhere, across the galaxy, whispers spread, "Humans are not to be underestimated. They act with principle and they endure with honor." The stage was set for humanity's return, stronger than before. This time they would not simply participate. They would lead, guide, and inspire, shaping the future of interstellar cooperation for generations to come. The stars stretched endlessly outside the human ship's observation deck, a canvas of light and darkness that seemed to hum with possibility. Commander Alara Shaw stood at the front, her eyes focused on the distant glow of the Galactic Councils. Citadel. Humanity was returning, not as newcomers, not as uncertain participants, but as equals, respected for integrity, patience, and wisdom. This is it, Ilara said quietly to her team. Our second chance. This time we enter with clarity, dignity, and the knowledge that the Council has acknowledged its mistakes. Dr. Isaac Marlowe, reviewing the latest schematics and presentations, nodded. It's remarkable. The Council's statement alone changes everything. They recognize our integrity, our restraint, and our intelligence. We have a rare opportunity. Here. Lieutenant Marin Voss, still a little anxious but excited, leaned forward. It feels different this time. Before, every gesture, every word was tested. Now, I think they're ready to listen. Ilara smiled faintly. Not all of them, Marin. Some will still doubt, but we are prepared. Today we do more than negotiate. We inspire. Humanity has a chance to set a new example for the galaxy. As the human ship entered the Council's orbit, a quiet tension filled the air. Delegates from countless species watched with anticipation. Some were visibly curious, some wary, and some still cautious. Yet there was a new energy among them, a subtle acknowledgement that humanity's earlier departure had been dignified, principled, and undeniable. The humans were escorted to the main chamber once again, though this time with a difference. Instead of suspicion, there was careful attention. The Council's usual hierarchy and subtle politicking were still present, but something had shifted. Humans were no longer seen as merely new participants. They were a species whose patience, clarity, and integrity demanded respect. Ilara stepped forward. Honored members of the Council, humanity returns not to prove itself but to contribute. We come with knowledge, with innovation, and with goodwill. Our actions are guided by principle, not fear, and by truth, not bias. A ripple of murmurs passed through the chamber. Some delegates leaned in, listening closely, the crystalline being pulsed brightly, a sign of contemplation, while the insectoid clicked its mandibles slowly, signaling measured attention. Ambassador Lyra's branches quivered in quiet approval. The humans began their presentations. First, they demonstrated collaborative technology projects designed for energy sharing, healthcare, and sustainable development across multiple planets. The energy device that had caused such misunderstanding before was now presented with full transparency, its operation and safety protocols clearly displayed. Every calculation, simulation, and precaution was explained in detail. Council members watched in fascination. The demonstrations were not just about technology. They were about trust, clarity, and cooperation. Every step showed that humanity could combine creativity with responsibility, innovation with honesty. Next, the humans shared cultural exchanges, art, music, and literature from Earth. Holographic projections displayed scenes of cities, forests, oceans, and mountains. Music from humanity's history played softly, blending with alien sounds to create harmony. Delegates were invited to contribute their own artistic expressions, forming a shared tapestry of interstellar culture. Ilara observed carefully. Some delegates were moved, others impressed, and a few still skeptical. Yet the energy in the chamber was unmistakable. Humanity was bridging gaps not just with science, but with spirit. Then came the final part of the presentation, humanity's philosophy of cooperation. Ilara spoke, her voice calm and firm. Our species has learned that strength is not shown through dominance, and wisdom is not measured by fear. True progress comes from understanding, integrity, and respect. We seek not to command the galaxy, but to work alongside it. For a moment, the chamber was silent. Every delegate considered her words. Then, one by one, responses began to ripple through the room. The insectoid delegate, once so hostile, spoke first. Humanity demonstrates clarity, patience, and honor. It seems we misjudged you before. Your philosophy is admirable, the crystalline being pulsed brighter. Indeed, we observe not only technology but morality, patience, and intelligence. Humanity's actions are now undeniable. You are not to be underestimated. Ambassador Lyra stepped forward, her branches quivering gently. Humans, you have taught us a lesson. Your integrity, even when questioned, has reshaped our understanding. Today you are not merely participants, you are partners, equals, and perhaps even guides in ways we did not anticipate. The chamber erupted into discussions, some formal, some informal, but the tone was different. There was no subtle hostility, no misrepresentation. Delegates asked questions, offered suggestions, and actively sought to collaborate. Humanity's return had created a new precedent, one where integrity, clarity, and courage were respected above hierarchy or assumption. Later, in a private meeting, the council formally acknowledged their prior misjudgment. The statement was simple but powerful. Humanity has acted with integrity, patience, and wisdom. Misunderstandings and biases led to incorrect assumptions about your intentions. We recognize our error and honor your dignity. Humanity is invited to participate as equals in all council endeavors. Ilara read the statement aloud to her team. A sense of quiet pride filled the room. Humanity had not just returned, they had been acknowledged, respected, and given a platform to influence the galaxy for the better. Dr. Marlowe grinned. We didn't fight. We didn't argue endlessly. We simply acted with clarity, patience, and truth. And it worked. Lieutenant Voss laughed softly. It's amazing. We left before and now we lead. Ilara looked at her team, her gaze steady. Yes, but leadership is not about power. It's about responsibility. Humanity now has the opportunity to show the galaxy that cooperation, integrity, and intelligence can overcome misunderstanding, bias, and fear. Our actions will set a new standard. Over the following months, humanity worked closely with the Council. They implemented joint scientific projects, shared medical research, and contributed to interstellar cultural programs. Other species began to look to humanity as examples, not because humans demanded it, but because they had earned respect through integrity and patience. Ilara reflected on the journey from their first arrival, the misunderstandings, the retreat, and the Council's eventual recognition. Humanity had faced skepticism, misrepresentation, and subtle hostility, yet through patience, clarity, and unwavering principle, they had reshaped perception across countless star systems. This is more than a victory, Ilara said quietly one evening to Dr. Marlowe and Lieutenant Voss. This is a turning point. Humanity has shown that our strength lies not in domination, but in wisdom, integrity, and cooperation. We are not just participants in the galaxy, we are an example. Dr. Marlowe nodded. It's inspiring. Other species are learning from us not just about technology, but about morality, patience, and courage. Humanity is teaching the galaxy without fighting or coercing. Lieutenant Voss smiled. I never imagined we could make such a difference, just by being ourselves. Ilara's eyes glimmered with quiet pride. Exactly. And that is the essence of humanity. We do not seek conflict. We do not rely on fear. We act with clarity, dignity, and creativity. And when the galaxy sees this, it changes, not through force but through respect. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the observation deck, the human delegation looked forward with hope. They had returned stronger, wiser, and more respected than ever. The Council had learned a powerful lesson. Integrity and patience could triumph where force and fear might fail. Humanity's place in the galaxy was now secure, not through aggression, but through character. They had shown that even in a universe filled with uncertainty, misunderstandings, and suspicion, a species that acts with honesty, courage, and clarity can inspire respect, shape the future, and lead by example. Ilara took one last look at the distant stars. This is only the beginning. Humanity will continue to explore, innovate, and inspire, and the galaxy will remember the lesson we have taught, that true strength lies in principle, and true progress comes from cooperation. The human delegation moved forward, ready to build a future where understanding, integrity, and mutual respect guided the course of interstellar relations. They had retreated once, not in fear, but to preserve dignity. They had returned, not as supplicants, but as equals. And now, humanity's light shone across the galaxy, bright, steady, and impossible to ignore. The galaxy had learned, and humanity had proven. Patience, integrity, and courage are the truest powers of any species.